Morning, everybody. I'm just going to give folks a few more minutes to jump on, then we'll get going.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. There's that note taker. I don't even know if that note taker works. It just follows me everywhere, and I don't know how to turn it off. So here we are. Here we are. Don't text me later and be like, "Oh, can I have the notes?" I don't know. Can
Is
you?
is the note taker stalking you?
Exactly. I'm like, I don't know what that is. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Good morning. It is Wednesday. What is today? May 14th. Guys, the year is just rolling. Um, I would love to start with some gratitude. As you know, on Wednesday mornings, I am a little bit more visual than my partners in Charleston. So I'm going to start with this quote here. You guys can see it. You know I have technology problems, but acknowledging the good that you already have in your life is the foundation for all abundance. So let's start with a few. I'm gonna turn stop share off, and let's start with a few folks speaking up on what they're grateful for this morning.
I'll go. So I am grateful. I had a former or colleague reach out. I'm starting a new business and stressed about, finances, but she reached out to me with an opportunity for a little side gig that won't interfere with my real estate and allow me the opportunity to still maintain myself as well and not be as stressed.
Fantastic. Financial security is important. So appreciate that. Anybody else have a grateful moment this morning?
My partner and I are building a house, and I am grateful that we're getting a stove today, and he is installing the electricity for it right now because he's awesome. So I'm going to shout out
That's
to him.
amazing. Sorry, I got distracted. Two note takers showed up there for a minute. Sorry. But that is amazing that your partner's able to get your stove in. It's the little things and the big things that just make life so much easier. And do we have one more maybe, or are we good?
I'm just grateful that it's not raining this morning.
Yeah, Michaela, speak for yourself. It's pouring here in Charlotte, so
Oh, is it? Okay.
it was sunny driving in, and now it is pouring. So those are the breaks. Well, I'm gonna start. As you know, we go right into a video. This video is more of, I thought it was funny. I thought it was the moment to kind of do something just a little bit different than we usually do. But I'm gonna share, in theory, that video with you, and you guys can watch this, and then we'll do some ahas. So let me do here, and we're gonna do. Can you guys see that? Nodding. Yep. All right. Here we go. So I thought it also just kind of applies to life, right? So for me, my aha was watching that was, you, well, hold on. Can you hear anything? You're good? I had more videos playing in the background. But my aha from that was don't always take the easy route, right? He found something that was kind of workaround and he thought that he had found a way to go over and go beyond what he knew was the tried and true. The right thing to do was put money in the snack machine, make sure that they're not stealing money out of the safe. But he took an easy route. He did something wrong, and then it backfired on him. And I think you can apply that to business, especially when it comes to lead generation. We always tend to, we talk a lot about, or we've started to talk about working on your business and working in your business. And you've got to be able to do both. You've got to be building your pipeline, working on your business, setting up what you need to set up to make sure that your business will flow because you are a business owner, while also working with clients. And I thought that was just kind of like that could be applied to anything. Anybody else have an aha?
I would
Well, I
just
guess
say
for
from a
me,
standpoint, sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
I mean, putting aside the fact that the entire thing was immoral,
Yeah.
the greed factor, yeah, it's one of those things where, like I had an opportunity recently where another agent was trying to push me to get an extra 0.5% from sellers, and it could have soured the deal. And I was like, it's not worth souring the deal over an extra 0.5% commission. And it's just one of those things where, you gotta be happy for what you have and not go for that last little bit because that can wreck the whole thing. So
I love that. That's a nuance for sure. He just kept going back and back and back. He could have just stuck his hand in and walked away, but putting aside, like you said, the immoral fact, but he just decided to go all in. It was a karma moment. That's right, Hex. It was a karma moment for sure. Anybody else? Christina, do you want to say something else?
no, I was going to mention the greed part
Yeah,
but Mark beat me to it.
Mark beat you to it for sure. Yep. All right,
Buy good
we're
tape.
going. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
Buy good tape.
Yeah, yes, for sure. I love that. That's that. That don't go to the Dollar Tree for your tape is what is the lesson there. Is the lesson there. I love that. All right, so we're gonna share our stats. I'm gonna try to do that at least. All right, we're going to hold on. I gotta find it. Look at all those tabs, guys. All those tabs. Here we go. So market of the moment. So we don't have our Wednesdays in yet, but let's start with Charleston. So these are updated as of Monday. Here's some totals. So we have pending. Let's take a minute. I'm going to read these off to you for those who maybe aren't seeing their screen, but also you can look at them yourself. But for Monday, we saw an uptick from Sunday from 19 to 82. Pending went from 13 to 32, which makes sense. This is over the weekend. Close went from 11 to 90. Price changes went from 17 to 154. Back on the market doubled from 9 to 18. Expired almost doubled from 5 to 9. And withdrawn or canceled went from 2 to 31. So already just in the month of May, what I'm seeing is we had 1,500 plus price reductions. Well, yours says price changes, but these are probably price reductions in the Charleston area. When you're thinking about what you're doing or what skill you might need to be working on, think about how you are pricing homes. Remember, CMAs are really hard right now because it changes so quickly, right? If you're basing things off of 6 months of past closings, you may want to adjust that a little bit and be really cognizant of what's happening in that neighborhood on the micro local, because things are changing so quickly. Anybody else see anything for Charleston that you're just like, wow? Or have questions about?
Not good morning, not questions about, but just something to note. The
Hmm?
withdrawn and cancel, at 226 just for the month, that's a lot, right? So There's a reason these things are coming off of the market. Obviously, the expired is what I guess about half of that. Um, and then those that's coming back on the market, these last three, I guess, kind of columns, that's opportunity. So, obviously the opportunity in Charleston is about what, two, four, five, about 500 listings or so. Where either, hey, if you already have a buyer, those back on the markets could be the one that we absolutely need to be making sure that we go back and, try to see if we can get them in. But then also realizing and trying to ask the question, hey, why are these coming back on the market? What was the issue? Was it a financing thing? Was it a um, property condition issue? That type of thing. So just trying to tell the story basically. Obviously, that's what the data's trying to do. But then you also got to figure out, hey, what was some of the details so that you can be better service of your client.
For sure. For sure. Let's move over to Charlotte. So Charlotte area. So this is all greater Charlotte. We don't have Wednesdays in yet, but we're seeing new listings. Look at the decline from Monday to Tuesday. Well, hold up. So so you have an idea. In Charlotte, you can't pull things daily. So this 768 on Monday was actually a cumulative for the weekend. So that's not a really good indicator. You can't tell the big jump there. But again, our big story continues to be we have almost 3,000 price reductions in just the first 14 days of the month, first half of the month. And like Steven said, we are almost at 1,000. There's so much opportunity between back on the market, expired, and withdrawn. We're almost at 1,000 right there. No, actually over 1,000 right there. So again, there's a lot of opportunity in our numbers, guys. Don't let people get discouraged by the market. There's opportunities to tap into these back on the market, expired withdrawals. There's an opportunity to figure out what's going on with our price reductions, having those hard conversations about setting the price correctly. When you get that listing is important. If you feel like you need somebody to chat that through with or bounce ideas off, reach out to your leadership to make sure you're pricing things right, and so that two heads are better than one kind of thing. So we'll continue to track our data and make sure that's there for you guys to kind of analyze and know what's going on in the moment. All right, so we're gonna move over to this slide here. I went over this on Wednesday of last week. And what I'm really want to focus on is, Reverend Cone kind of gets us going on Thursdays. Ben gets us going and really gets us thinking about our business and why we're not moving into action. And then I tend to be a little bit more tactical because I have an operations background, right? So last week I shared this with you, and this was really a process for you to follow when you're working with a new lead. Okay, I'm going to get a little even more granular here in a minute, but I just want to really reiterate this process because this is a tried and true process. It is from MREA. So, you follow a model, but you can do some creativity with it. And so what I found when I was working with the team is that if we really followed this process for any new lead that came in, even if you did 50 to 60% of this process, your pipeline was so much stronger. Your relationships you were building were so much better. So just to give you a quick highlight, remember, if you get a new contact, this could be from anywhere. It could be a cold lead. It could be from an open house. It could be from a networking event. Your initial 3 days right after that are the most important. And the suggestion and this is actually something that Gary added to the MREA, is you really should come out guns blazing with a 2x3. And what that means is you're going to contact them two methods of communication 3 days in a row. And what I've always liked to do is I would do a phone call and then something followed up in writing. So it'd be a phone call, then a text, a phone call, then an email, or a phone call, then a text. But the point is, for 3 days, you're trying to get that relationship. After that 3 days, if you still haven't had a conversation, you're going to move to that 8x8. That 8x8 is, they call it 8x8, and I said this last time, it really should be a 1x8. But for 8 weeks, you're going to reach out in some capacity. A phone call, it'll always be better, or text. I'm actually better with text. So a phone call or text. Email is secondary, but at least for 8 weeks, one method of reaching out so that you can get them on the phone. Did you speak with your client? We're now in the yellow box. If you did, then you should have a conversation. That's that conversation that we've already gone through, where it was the motivation conversation. It's the consultation. It's you're getting to know them. You're finding out all the things. You're finding out what they're looking for. And so that makes them a Mets. If you got them on the phone, but it wasn't great, you're going to follow up in 45 days. And then if you didn't get them on the phone after these 8 weeks, then you're going to just put them on a nurture, which is a once every month kind of email thing that also triggers you to then in 90 days still follow up. Now, breaking this down even more, I want to show you what some of that follow-up should look like, right? So we've gone through kind of how you can use events. I've talked to you guys about the DTD2, which is making sure following that system so that you're talking to your database 4 times a year is by following the alphabet. So there's 2, like, so we're in the, I don't know what week we're in. We're probably in the 25th or 26th week of the year. So there are certain letters that are assigned to this week for you to reach out to in your database. Once we do that, there's, again, we've talked a little bit about, you can easily go into command and do a neighborhood nurture, which is an easy, you just set them up on a smart plan, and once a month they will get a neighborhood nurture. And even if you don't know the neighborhood they'd want to look in, put them in a neighborhood that is like or assign them to a neighborhood that is like the cream of the crop for Charleston, or where they like the place that they want to live in Charlotte. What will happen is they will see that newsletter and they'll be like, oh, that's amazing, but I would love this newsletter for something, for something that's more relevant to them, their personal neighborhood or neighborhood they want to move into. The next step, though, is you really should try to figure out if you can create in an easy way a newsletter, some way for you to communicate with your database that is more personalized to you. So I'm going to show you this right here. This is page 69 off of the playbooks in, hold on just a minute. Off of the playbooks in command, okay? When you are thinking through, see now y'all's faces are in the way, here we go. When you guys are thinking through your newsletter, so this is part of a 36 touch plan or as part of just that nurturing that you're gonna do. You're gonna have 2 sets of people, right? So the people you've talked to, they now are considered your Mets. And Mets, I don't know what it stands for, but Mets makes sense, like you've met them, right? Mets is your Mets database. There's a different way of communicating with them. You're putting them on a 36 touch plan that's much more personalized. They're getting to know you. It's meant for them. Then you will have a non-Mets folks. These are the folks that never answer your phone. These are the folks you need to talk to. Either way, this is a way for you to create a newsletter that you're doing some kind of communication with them on a regular basis. And lucky for you, Command allows you to do it in a really easy way, right? So your first thing you have to do is you have to choose your audience. And that is, who do you want to attract, right? This should be based off of your database. I was sharing with my folks up here in the Charlotte area. If you have a database full of, like, I'm a mom, right? You've heard me share about my kids. Like, I've got kids that are at a certain school. I've got a soccer player and I've got a dancer. I have a database full of families, moms, people that I've met, right? If you have a database full of, I don't know, investors, or if you have a database full of first-time home buyers because that's the network that you're in, or anything like that, make sure that you're choosing your audience and who do you want to attract, right? That newsletter should either be highly generalized about the market, or you can really get into your niche and make sure that you're providing them quality information that way. The second thing is select your topics. What does your audience want to hear? So first-time home buyers, you may want to always have a mortgage piece in there, or anybody in the database should have a mortgage component to it. What are the rates? What's going on? So select your topics. Pick your frequency. Don't bite off more than you can chew. The best part about this is just being consistent, right? So if you want to set this up so that it goes out twice a month, monthly, whichever way you do it, make sure you're consistent and that it's something that you can consistently do and not be, this one-off thing that you do in May, but then they never hear from you again until November. The consistency is what makes it important. And again, Command can easily set this up for you. You just go in and create your template, time block some time once a month where you're taking 30 minutes to an hour, updating the content. There's ChatGPT is our friend. Gosh, guys, ChatGPT is out of control. I put in a prompt yesterday and it wrote a whole training for me. And I was like, where have you been all my life? So just put the prompt, and it was the free version, right? So this doesn't have to be a lot of work. So just make sure you know what you're doing, and if it's for, if you want to go with a niche and really find this for first-time home buyers or something, or if you want to do a more general, this is a market update for the Charleston or Charlotte area. Assign the work. When some of you, I don't know all of your business structures, but I know usually the people here who are on here from Charlotte, they are individual agents. So assigning the work really just means them. So when I say it means them, they're the ones that do it, but that also means just time block. Time block when you will write it, when you will design it, how you will distribute it, and how will you continue to add people to your newsletter. Okay. Again, this is something that you can set up, and that newsletter doesn't have to be mailed. I'm really just talking about an email that goes out on top of another touch, because we know the more touches you have, the more that you show up in their inbox, you're going to have name recognition, right? That's what's important, is you want to be top of mind. And this is just another way for you to be top of mind. So you've got the 4 quarterly calls, you've got the neighborhood nurture that's easy. So you're already at 16 touches. You do a newsletter, there's an additional 12, and there you go, right? That's your touch system. There's your touch system. Easy peasy, and Command lets you do it. Make sure this 5th point is important, and I think it's something we sometimes miss, is build your tech stack. Really just make sure that people can find you. So if that newsletter is going out, are your different areas, are your different ways of communication, or there different ways of marketing set up. So make sure you have your website. You have a KW website. Make sure that's linked in your newsletter. Make sure that you have some type of engagement or call to action in your newsletter that lands somewhere. So maybe you're going to ask a question. Maybe you'll do something that's not even related to real estate. For example, when I used to farm a certain neighborhood here in Charlotte, what we would do is we would have a trivia question. It had nothing to do with nothing, but they would answer that trivia question through a Google form, and then we would reach out and give them a $10, if they were the one that got it right, they would be a $10 Starbucks card. You can have a trivia, you can have something like a call to action. If they're interested in a home value assessment, have a call to action that that goes to a landing page. We have analytics, we have an email platform. You can do this through Command. Remember, you can either do it through Command email, or you can do it through Command that connects to MailChimp. That would be what I would suggest. Make sure that your social handles are on there, and make sure that you have your logos and your graphics set up, and that they're present on your newsletter. The point of this is, it is very simple to create your 36 touch plan, or to create a nurturing plan so that you have the follow-up. More than anything, I want to emphasize these past 2 weeks is the follow-up is where it comes from. The follow-up is all in the follow-up. And if you have a system where you are doing some kind of active engagement with your database, you're in a much better probability of getting clients, right? I told you last week, it takes 19 touches to create a relationship on average, especially for a cold lead. So you're going to do that with that 2x3, talk to them 3 days in a row, at least reach out. Let them hear your voice on a voicemail, follow up with a text and an email. Then you're going to do an 8x8 one time for the next 8 weeks. Reach out to them, either put them on your call list or put them on something that you know that you're going to be reminded to reach out to them on a weekly basis. And then after that, depending on if they talk to you, you've got to set them up on something that they will consistently see you. The easiest one, again, is the neighborhood nurture, but then you need to customize something. And another one would be just another easy e-newsletter that goes out in the email. Again, even if they're not opening it, if they're clicking it and seeing their name, if they're seeing Hex King show up, if they're seeing Mark McLean show up, it's just the idea of having brand recognition and name recognition in their mailbox. Okay. So I hope that's helpful. Again, like I said, I know I tend to be a little bit more tactical. You'll get your inspiration tomorrow from Reverend Cohn, and then you'll hear from Ben next week about listings. But I will see you guys tomorrow. Go out there and make Wednesday a good day. I'll see you later.
Thank you so much.
See ya.